again, everybody. Another edition of Randy's Ringside. And this one coming to you. Wow, this is what I get just by jumping on. You guys are wide awake because I got to tell you, it is early in the morning here. The fight's just ended. And we decided, me and producer Marcello, that's where we are. We took a drive up to Studio M, and we decided to do a post-fight. And, of course, the fights you saw over the weekend on ESPN and on Showtime pay-per-view. Two incredible cards. I thought that it meant a lot to boxing. Before we get to those cards, I want to talk about a fight that didn't happen. I'm still very angry about it. I got to get this off my chest because I have had a few days to think about this. And while many of the fights are coming together that we do want to see, April 22nd, of course, is going to be Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. But a fight that was supposed to take place a week later, the heavyweight championship of the world between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, is not happening. I know, but here is everything I can tell what is going on. Usyk actually accepted a 70-30 split. Originally, Usyk said to Fury, how about we do this? Whoever wins gets 60%, whoever loses gets 40%. Sounds fair enough to me, competitive enough to me. But Fury didn't like that. And he said in his tough guy sound, he basically said, no, I'm the big draw here. I'm the big name. I'm the big man. 70-30. I get 70 one way or the other. You get 30. And then he started making all kind of excuses, Fury did, about a rematch clause, blaming it on Usyk. Well, Usyk didn't care one way or the other. He said if Fury would give in to a rematch clause, he would take it. If he didn't want it, he didn't care. Usyk just wanted the fight. And again, he was willing to take 70% to 30. He was going to take 30%. Fury was going to get 70. So for whatever reason, this fantastic heavyweight championship fight is not going to be happening because of Tyson Fury. Now, if you guys want to let Fury, well, you could let him know how you feel about that with him taking 70%. And that's how I think we all feel. It's just a nose holder.
So wait a second. You're telling me right now that Tyson Fury not only offered Usyk less money, and Usyk accepted it, but now he's not even going to fight after he offered it on his own offer. So basically said, I'm going to offer you this. Usyk said, yes, never mind, I don't want to do it. So basically he was trying to lowball Usyk into saying no. It's because he doesn't want to fight him.
Exactly. That's exactly.
So why do you think he doesn't want to fight him?
That is a question that is the question of the year. Why doesn't he want to fight? Is he afraid of him? I think what he's afraid of is, you got to remember, in his last couple of fights, Tyson Fury, who did he fight last? He fought Derek Chisora, who he had beaten twice before, once on an easy decision, and then a couple of years later knocked him out. Well, he fights him back late in 2022 and played with him, toyed with him, and knocked him out once again. Gave him the fight because they become friends, and he wanted to see his friend get a nice payday fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. Of course, he wasn't going to let him win the heavyweight championship of the world, so he slapped him around and knocked him out. And then before that, who did he face? I guess it was about late last May. He fought Dillian White, a very overrated, and I think on the back nine, Dillian White slapped him around for 7 rounds and knocked him out. The thing is, he knows in the back of his head he cannot do this to Usyk, who he saw outbox on 2 occasions Anthony Joshua. And now he's actually talking about trying to get Anthony Joshua into the ring. Who cares if Anthony Joshua fights Tyson Fury now? Because he's lost the 2 fights to Alexander Usyk. The only heavyweight fight that really means anything is Usyk against Fury. Fury says, I'm taking 70, you're taking 30. And Usyk calls his bluff, and then Fury turns around. I just have a feeling.
Do you think Fury,
if he lost?
Do you think Fury's feeling his own mortality now? Do you think he's feeling himself, after the last big fight that he had? Do you think he's just taking easy opponents because he knows he doesn't have it anymore?
I don't think it's that he doesn't have it anymore. I just think that his confidence level is not where he wants us to think it is. And look, if you could offer a guy 30% and you're going to take 70, and the guy says yes to it, and then you turn it down and you start blaming everything else on him, something's wrong there. And as far as we can tell, it's not Usyk to blame. It's Tyson Fury. So you know what? I got that off my chest, and I'm glad I did. Now, the fight that we saw, the big one over the weekend, was David Benavidez against Caleb Plant. The undefeated David Benavidez against the once-beaten Caleb Plant. And the only guy who ever beat Caleb Plant was Canelo Alvarez. And this was going to be for the Canelo Alvarez sweepstakes. The winner really should be getting Canelo Alvarez. But a lot of people think that Canelo Alvarez has been ducking David Benavidez. The thing is, he has one incredibly smart team, and I think he wanted to take one more look at Benavidez, and maybe even that look would lead to a loss against Caleb Plant, who Canelo has beaten already. Caleb Plant just gave the performance of his career. It was just a tremendous performance. And he started real fast, and I thought after 6 rounds, I thought Caleb Plant was in the lead in this fight. But then Benavidez started taking over around the 7th, definitely by the 8th round. A bigger man, stronger man, certainly not faster. But at this point, Plant couldn't move the way he was, and when he couldn't move, he was getting beat on the inside. And it was on the inside that the strength of Benavidez started to tell. And he won, I believe, rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and he wound up taking that decision. And there was no question about it that he really did deserve the decision. But now we wonder, is he going to be facing Canelo Alvarez sometime later this year? I think it's a terrific fight, but I must tell you that I think that David Benavidez, in my mind, showed a lot of weaknesses. Many times, if you knock somebody out in 1 or 2 rounds, you don't show any weaknesses. But when you have to go 12 rounds in a fight, even though you might win the fight, you will show a lot of weaknesses, and I think that David Benavidez did exactly that. He showed the weaknesses, and when he did, I think that Canelo has watched with his team, and I must tell you that if this fight was going to take place the other day, I would have picked Benavidez, and I probably would have been wrong. When they fight later this year, and certainly we're going to see in May, we're going to see Canelo face John Ryder. And I think that John Ryder is going to give him a decent fight, but won't beat him. I think that Canelo is going to use that as a tune-up. And then I do see Canelo saying yes to a Benavidez fight. And I do see, off the Benavidez that we saw the other day, I think that Canelo is going to win the fight.
So you think this is all strategy?
I think it was a very good move on the part of Canelo Alvarez to lay back, just pick and choose his opponents, and he's been fighting some real good guys. So he takes a John Ryder, who's not a bum by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, last year, John Ryder beat Danny Jacobs, and it was a tough fight. But, you know, Danny Jacobs, a former world champion, world-class fighter, I thought that John Ryder deserved to win, and he deserves this shot against Canelo. And, hey, you never know what can happen in a boxing match. Canelo should win it. And then I think the only real fight for Canelo. If he wants to fight Dimitri Bivol again, I don't really care about it. I saw Dimitri Bivol really have his way with Canelo. Yes, Canelo had an injured hand. Yes, he had surgery on the mitt after the fight. I just don't know if that's really going to make any difference, because I think that Bivol only fought as hard as he had to, and I think if he has to fight even harder, if he has to fight.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
I mean, if he has to, he should probably do that out of the ring out of courtesy.
Well, sometimes guys in the ring, we've actually heard it on headset. But anyway, if you
wait, you're telling me that you've heard a fighter in the ring,
yes,
blast ass, so hard that in the auditorium with all the noise and the lights and the sound and everything like that, at your announce table, you heard it.
We are sitting at the announce table.
You're
right
in the
here.
danger zone.
The guys are right up here. And we've heard a lot of stuff. I mean, hey, guys clear their nostrils against the ropes, and the boyo comes flying over in your direction.
That's nice.
We have heard everything. But the fact is here that Canelo has fought everybody. He is not ducking. David Benavidez, he hasn't been ducking him. He just wanted to see a little bit more. He's a smart fighter. He knows what he's doing. I can't wait for the fight because it is a very big fight, and I think it just takes the legacy of Canelo even further. Even if he loses the fight, he's still a future Hall of Famer. This one just puts him right up on top, and should he beat David Benavidez, who Mike Tyson has been calling the Mexican monster, look, he is a damn good fighter. He's 27-0, but to me, he is no Mexican monster. You'll see when he faces Canelo Alvarez. Now, on that card on Showtime, Cody Crowley, I was waiting for this fight, remained unbeaten as he fought Abel Ramos, the veteran, tough veteran, hard hitter. Cody Crowley, these guys are welterweights. Cody went into the fight undefeated with a very heavy heart because only a few months ago, his father, one of his best friends, committed suicide. Ooh. Cody Crowley was so down in the dumps after he beat Abel Ramos in one of the fights of the year. And if you haven't seen this fight, you might be able to pick it up on YouTube, whatever. Cody Crowley against Abel Ramos, incredible fight. They hammered on each other for 10 rounds. Cody Crowley won a deserved decision. And afterwards, when he was being interviewed by the very tough interviewer, Jim Gray, the Hall of Famer, Gray, you could almost see tears in his eyes because Cody Crowley broke down, cried on air, and he told the American public that he came very close himself after his father took his own life, that he almost did the same thing. He said now he's fighting for others that have this problem, and he is fighting for anti-suicide, and he is basically one of the leaders now in that field. And Cody Crowley, we so hope this is a title eliminator. I don't know where he's going to go from here, whether he's going to wind up fighting Terrence Crawford down the road or Errol Spence down the road or maybe some vacant title, whatever. All we know is that Cody Crowley certainly deserves to at least fight for the championship, and I think he would be one heck of a champion. Also, on that card, there was, I thought, an amazing 154-pound bout between Jesus Ramos and Joey Parker. Now, Ramos came in at 18-0, and Joey Spencer came in at 16-0. They went to war, but Jesus Ramos was a little bit too much for Joey Spencer. Beat him around the face, swelled him up. Both eyes were puffy, purple, swollen. And finally, Joey Spencer's father pulled the plug, had his son stopped in the 7th round. Look, I think it would be a terrific rematch. Jesus Ramos, to me, he'll move on. Joey Spencer will take a little bit of a rest, put some ice on that face. He is an exceptional fighter with a big, big heart. But what a fight that one was. Now, I will tell you, there was also a fight on that card in the lightweight division. And I do think that the winner here, Chris Colbert, should definitely think about dropping back down to 130 because he won a unanimous decision in 10 rounds, upping his record to, I believe it was 19-1. And he beat a guy by the name of Jose Valenzuela, dropping his record to 12-2. I must tell you that this was, even though the judges called it a unanimous decision, many people thought that Chris Colbert should have lost the decision, not won. All three judges scored at 95-94 for Chris Colbert. I could easily have seen it 95-94 or maybe even 96-93 the other way, with Valenzuela winning the fight. On ESPN, there were a couple of what I call main events, co-features, because I think the one that was on top was a 140-pound bout, and this to me wasn't the one everybody was tuned in for, but we'll tell you about it. It was Jose Ramirez against Richard Commey. And Jose Ramirez looked real good. So did Commey. Gave everything he had because he knew that I think his career was riding on it. Commey came in at 30-4, and he left at 30-5. He lost the fight to Ramirez, who's 28-1. Ramirez, in this give-and-take fight, start taking it over in around the 10th round, start beating on the body of Commey and hurting him to the body. Dropped him twice in the 11th round. The second time in the 11th round with a body shot, a left hook to the liver, and as soon as it landed, Commey winced in pain, took a few steps backwards, then fell to a knee as referee Jack Reese told the 10 count. Reese was right in front of him, and at 5-6, Commey was looking right at Jack Reese. And you had a feeling that Commey was going to get up and finish the round and maybe finish the fight. And then Jack Reese, 7, 8, 9, and he hits 10, and then he asked Commey, who was staying on his knees, he said, "Do you want to continue?" And, I mean, he already was basically counted out, but I guess it was right before he hit 10. That's when Jack Reese asked him, "You want to continue?" Commey looked at him and said no. And Jack Reese
So what would have been the difference in the rule books if he had taken the 10 count or if he had the ref stopped the fight? What would have been the difference?
In many states, and that's a great question, in many states, if he stayed there 7, 8, 9, 10, it's a knockout.
Right.
But if the referee looks at you and asks, as Jack Reese did, "Do you want to continue?" and he says no, technically...
Would that be a technical knockout?
A technical knockout. But under California rules, it is a knockout. And quite frankly, that was a knockout. He went down, he didn't get up, and he was asked the question, "Do you want to continue?" And he said no. Okay, it is a KO.
So there wouldn't be a difference in his record, basically.
No.
It would still be counted. But in some states... it could be the difference between having a record of, 14 knockouts, one technical knockout, kind of that sort of a deal. So there might actually be a reason to take have the ref stop the fight, then get counted out. Is what I'm trying to say. Would there be any benefit to a fighter to getting, having the ref stop the fight other than having a 10 count?
Not really, because basically, sometimes what it means, if you were TKO'd, you might draw a 90-day suspension. If you were KO'd, you may be hit with a 120-day suspension, maybe 30 days more, whatever. But the fact is, in California, they call it a KO, and we're all going to look at this as a KO because it was. Even though he resigned right before Reese did hit 10, he said, "I don't want to continue."
Right.
And Reese didn't have to finish that 10 count, waved it off. It is a KO. He wasn't getting up. He didn't want to get up. And I do think it's not going to surprise me that, his record is now 30 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw. I think Richard Commey realizes his career as a top contender is over.
But my question is, Randy, why wouldn't the ref just count him out? Why would the ref use his authority, so to speak, to ask him? I mean, even if he said, yeah, I do want to continue, would he have let him continue? Even with that? I mean, what was the point of asking him if he wanted to continue?
It's almost, should I keep counting here? Because you don't look like you're going to get up.
But what I'm saying is he was already at 10 anyway, so it really wouldn't have mattered if he had said yes. So
I had trouble hearing because I was watching 2 sets at once, and I actually was having trouble hearing whether Jack Reese hit that 10 count. I don't think he did, but Reese was in complete control of it. He knew what he was doing. He was either going to count him out or just, hey, you're on one knee. Usually if guys get up, they start to get up by 6.
Yeah, to
7.
To take the full advantage of that 10 count,
You don't stay down to 9 because you're not getting up in that second.
Maybe he thought he didn't hear him or something like that. I don't know.
You're not getting up and getting ready. So that's when Reese said, do you want to continue? And I guess if he stood up and jumped up and said, yes.
So maybe he thought he was trying to take the standing 8 count, or whatever, and just recuperate a little bit. And
he made it quite clear that he did not want. And remember,
he just didn't have it.
Jack Reese, probably the best ref in boxing. And it was a good fight for him to ref. I would have liked to have seen, actually, Jack Reese referee the Benavidez fight, because that one against Caleb Plant, Caleb was doing a lot of holding, and referee Kenny Ballas, who's been known to be such a terrific referee, I thought he struggled all the way through the fight. I thought many of his calls were weak. We weren't sure what was going on, who he was warning, and for what. I thought it was a very weak performance from the normally outstanding Kenny Ballas, but so I really would have loved to have seen the best in the business. Most of us do regard Jack Reese as the best in the business. I really wish we could have seen him refereeing that fight. But he did a splendid job in this fight. And in doing so, he also let them fight their fight. He let Ramirez and Commey work on the inside. He didn't bother them on the inside. He would shout his voice commands, stop, break, step back. They listened to him. And the end was just, whatever it was, Commey was knocked out. KO 11. Jose Ramirez now 28-1, 140 pounds. And who knows where he goes next. But I do think it's going to be a top contender or a championship fight for him. Now, the fight that I'm really excited about was the co-feature. To me, which was the feature? It was 2 undefeated females fighting for the 105-pound championship, the unified title. And Seniesa Estrada was one of them. She came in 23-0 with 9 knockouts. Tina Rupprecht came in at 12-0 with a draw. Both were exceptional boxers. And I thought that maybe even Tina Rupprecht, from what I've seen, might even be the little bit better of the two in boxing. Well, that wasn't the case, because Seniesa Estrada put it all together, won 10 out of 10 rounds. The only thing she didn't do was knock out Rupprecht. But what Seniesa showed us was very little in terms of where she's going to make mistakes. I said before where David Benavidez, in going the distance, showed a lot of weaknesses. Seniesa Estrada entertained everybody. She switched up from right-hander to southpaw every single round. She boxed magnificently through. You got to remember, there's 120 seconds in these rounds. 2 minutes a round, not 3 like the guys are doing. The guys, many of the ones who are very busy, will throw around 100 punches around in the 3 minutes. Seniesa Estrada was throwing 75, 80 punches in the 2 minutes every single round. It was one of the most brilliant performances I have ever seen. And quite frankly, I thought on Saturday night, she just upped her value so much. I think she has now become, I think she is truly the face of female boxing.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I got to tell you something, Marcello, and to all of you. Katie Taylor, I think she is pound for pound the best female around. She's proven it. Claressa Shields, to me, I'm willing to say what she calls herself, the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time. And as far as Amanda Serrano, I think that Amanda is a future Hall of Famer. What she is doing is just incredible. But I think that Seniesa Estrada basically is flawless. She can box, she can punch, she can move, she is tireless. There is nothing that this young lady can't do. And she has charisma. She's
a total package.
Stunningly beautiful. And that's it. 2 words right there. Total package.
Do I
She's
see a little
everything.
twinkle in your eye there, Commish, when you're talking about Seniesa? You got a little twinkle in your eye. Even behind the sunglasses, I can see it.
You know, the women out there, you got to remember, this is a guy, when I was commissioner in New York, in 1995, I licensed females for the very first time to fight in New York.
And you took a lot of flack for that, didn't you?
Took a lot of flack, especially from the former commissioner.
Yeah.
Former light heavyweight champion Jose Torres, who first I told him I was going to license females, and he said, you shouldn't do it. And I'm not even going to go where he said, because it just wasn't right. And then I said to him, Jose, not only am I going to license females, I'm going to tell you right now that one day females are going to box in Madison Square Garden in the main event in front of a packed crowd. He said, don't ever say that out loud, because you will be laughed out of this business.
Because they said women couldn't do it. They're going to get killed. They're going to kill each other in the ring. It was going to be boring. I actually find the female fights, the women fights, sometimes even more entertaining, especially in boxing and mixed martial arts. I feel like a lot of times they put so much more into it. They put more energy into it. They put more aggression into it, and yeah, I remember that. I remember when you did that back in the day. You took a lot of heat for that. You took a lot of flack for that. A lot of people called you crazy.
Yeah. Well, I might be crazy, but you know what?
Well, we know that, but crazy for doing that, not for just
Sure.
being you.
Well, I always knew. So in April of 2022, when Katie Taylor fought Amanda Serrano, main event, Madison Square Garden, I'm basically sitting there with tears rolling down my face because this was the dream that I had. And now, over that last year, they have just risen. And yes, there's Katie, and there's Claressa, and there's Amanda Serrano, there's Chantel Cameron, there's Alicia Baumgartner, there's Michaela Mayer. But Seniesa Estrada at 24-0, as you said,
the total package.
The total package. She is everything. She's kind of a Jennifer Lopez, a J-Lo lookalike.
She does. She does look a little bit like J-Lo. But I have a feeling she could kick the hell out of it. She could beat J-Lo up very easily.
And on the microphone, she's going to be announcing for ESPN. She previously did some work for DAZN. She is tremendous. I think she has become the face of female boxing. And while Katie Taylor may be pound for pound, I think
it's not just about in-ring ability. You're saying it's about all around, in-ring, out of the ring, presence, charisma, talent, skill, all of that.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah,
I don't want to leave this one. Franchon Cruz DAZN, the unified 168-pound champion, and there are more. There are many, many more.
Yeah.
There's only one face of female boxing right now, and her name is Seniesa Estrada.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if female boxing didn't draw in terms of ticket sales as it did, that it would still be being pushed as it is today? Because don't you think it's all about the money? And I think when they saw that it could be profitable and they could put butts in seats and sell tickets and sell merch, that they did start saying, okay, maybe we got something here. Maybe is it just because people, and I know for a fact that some people watch it for the novelty of it, I guess maybe some of the older guys watch female boxing for the novelty of it. I watch it because I think they're truly talented athletes. I think they're incredibly aggressive, incredibly skilled, and it's just as good as and exciting as any other boxing. You know, it has its good.
Is.
You have your good fighters, you have your bad fighters, but I think once they saw that it was a draw, that it, you know, people would come and see it and pay real money for it and watch it, that, you know, they got more serious about it. Wouldn't you say that?
I absolutely would say that. But then it's also up to the promoters who put these young ladies on. And I do give Lou DiBella real kudos. I mean, he took so many of the female fighters. Heather Hardy is another one. And he took Heather Hardy. He took Amanda Serrano. And he put them against each other. Amanda won that fight. But he was building up the females on his own. And Eddie Hearn from Matchroom then... he started putting on a bunch of female bouts over in the United Kingdom, and the popularity just grew. And then, of course, YouTuber Jake Paul took over Amanda Serrano. She wound up leaving Lou DiBella, went to Jake Paul, and then he worked with Eddie Hearn in putting on the big Katie Taylor-Amanda Serrano fight. And with that, a year ago, female boxing finally exploded. Everybody's accepting them for being the incredible athletes. And why not? You know, we watched for years, we watched female golfers, we watched tennis players, and just about every other sport we've watched them. Why not boxing? And now the list is getting longer and longer. And I was thrilled on Saturday night.
Did you
watching Sinisa.
Did you make any phone calls or any texts or emails to any people who may have said something to you back in the day? You know, maybe rub it in a little bit.
You know, you got to do that. Hey, were you watching? I'm sure you were. Kind of, you know.
Hey, remember that time you said that women would never main event a fight at Madison Square Garden? Yeah, well, you know.
So all I know, it was a tremendous weekend.
A little bit of vindication.
You know what? Vindication. It was just an exciting weekend for the sport of boxing. The David Benavidez Plant fight was incredible. The Sinisa Estrada, Tina Rupprecht. And Tina never stopped trying. She knew she was way down in the 10th round. Never stopped trying. And Sinisa just kept doing her thing. In fact, I should be going to sleep in a little while because we got no sleep right after the fight. I just got to watch that fight one more time. Yeah. So, yes, this is being recorded right after the fight, but I will be taking, obviously, you're going to be able to type in your remarks, and I'll be able to get right back to you here on Randy's Ringside. So we want to thank our producer, the voice himself, Marcello. Thank you for your studio again and
staying up late
and staying. Yes,
not getting any sleep.
You can go back upstairs to your beautiful wife now and get out and drive your sports car home and everything.
Oh yeah, my sports car. Right.
And
because I work for Randy Gordon, and everybody knows Randy pays the big bucks.
The big bucks.
The big bucks.
Thank you for watching, everybody, and we can't wait till the next time we come to Studio M, because there's going to be one big fight after another from this point on. Boxing really is picking up in 2023 now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be safe.